My name is Layla Thorne, and I'm 27 years old. For 7 years, I've been navigating the alleyways near Ningbo's old foreign concession. Starting as a humble assistant, I've worked my way up to become a moderately well-known soft furnishing stylist, crafting with my own hands the life I once dared not even dream of. Those fabric selections bathed in morning sunlight, late-night revisions under the glow of a desk lamp, and even the days when I'd munch on bread just to save on material costs, all were driven by one single obsession: to own a corner of my very own, completely and utterly mine. When I finally secured that top-floor apartment overlooking the river, right next to the old foreign concession, it had long since ceased to be just a house. The shimmering reflections outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the custom-made display shelves I designed myself, and every inch of space kissed by the sun, all bore the mark of my independence and resilience, silently revealing how fiercely I fought for this life. Every mortgage payment, every utility bill, even every single packet of coffee beans on the shelf, each and every one of them came from the hard-earned money I've painstakingly saved, brick by brick. I transformed the master bedroom into a sanctuary dedicated to healing and relaxation. A custom-made wooden desk, positioned against the bay window, neatly holds fabric swatches and design sketches. At night, when I'm tired, I lean against the window, gazing out at the river view in a state of serene contemplation. Every breath feels effortlessly relaxed. For the first time, I thought I'd finally carved out a peaceful little haven for myself in this bustling city. But that sense of calm was utterly shattered one rainy afternoon. My parents, Ella and Marcus, showed up at my doorstep without so much as a phone call, dragging two huge suitcases behind them. They announced they'd retired and wanted to live closer to me, soaking up the slow-paced lifestyle by the river. As I looked at the gray hairs at their temples, I forced myself to suppress the shock welling up inside. After all, they're the ones who raised me. It's only right that I show them patience and understanding. I settled them into the guest room and kept reassuring myself over and over again that this was just temporary. Little did I know that this was only the beginning of my family's encroachment on my life. 3 days later, in the afternoon, my older brother Kai and his wife Zoe showed up unannounced, lugging their suitcases with an air of complete entitlement, as if this riverside apartment were theirs by right. The air in the living room seemed to freeze instantly. At a glance, I saw right through them. They weren't here as guests at all. Their first target? The master bedroom, the one I'd carefully decorated with so much love and effort. Over the following days, their demands grew increasingly outrageous, from monopolizing the living room's remote control to casually using my design tools, each step pushing me further toward my breaking point. It had long ceased to be just a matter of space. It was clear that they simply didn't respect my hard work or my home at all. I'd had enough of letting these so-called relatives treat the home I'd worked so tirelessly to build as nothing more than a free stopover. If you were me, would you swallow your anger and let them stay, or would you stand firm and ask them to leave? Share your choice in the comments. Less than a week after my parents moved in, my apartment was completely transformed. My mother, Ella, is a retired librarian, and my father, Marcus, used to be a tax consultant. At first, they seemed fairly well behaved once they'd settled into the guest room, but that was just the beginning of the chaos. My older brother Kai, a self-proclaimed independent photographer, and his unemployed wife Zoe arrived with suitcases and bags galore. Zoe's clothes were tossed casually onto my velvet sofa. Kai's photography gear and tripods cluttered the living room like little mountains, and their ancient projector had been placed right on the long table I'd painstakingly prepared for showcasing design concepts, looking like an awkward, unwanted joke. Their inexplicable sense of superiority threw my carefully curated space into utter disarray. I'd poured countless hours and efforts into turning this place into an inspirational haven for soft furnishings, yet now it had become nothing more than their storage room. The hallway was strewn with Kai's sneakers, the kitchen counter was piled high with unwashed dishes, and even the balcony's cozy lounge area was overrun with laundry waiting to be washed. The financial pressure hit me faster than I'd imagined. With 4 more people joining our household, all the expenses have fallen squarely on my shoulders. Kai spends all day at home with the air conditioner running, editing photos. Zoe binge-watches TV shows and scrolls through videos nonstop, driving up our electricity bill by a whopping 100%. They use nearly half a tub of hot water every time they take a shower, leaving me horrified by the water bill. And with 5 people ordering food delivery for 3 meals a day, plus the occasional help. supplements my parents buy. Every little bit is slowly eating away at my savings. My interior design studio was built from scratch, and I've been careful with every single penny. Yet now, it's me who has to foot the bill for their comfortable lifestyle. Kai has never once suggested sharing the costs. Instead, he spends his days sprawled lazily on my couch, bragging about his photography career and pulling out a few blurry photos from his phone, insisting that he's about to become a well-known photographer in the industry. Living alone in such a big apartment with a view of the river, it's such a waste, he says with a sharp tone, as if I'm somehow getting off easy. I clenched my fists, trying hard to suppress my anger, but his words pierced my heart like needles. To make matters worse, Zoe took my patience for granted. She'd constantly sigh loudly in the living room, complaining that the sofa bed in the guest room was uncomfortable and painful to sleep on. She'd also go around telling my parents that I was stingy, refusing to let her stay in a bigger, more spacious room. She'd barge into my kitchen without knocking, rearranging my spice jars, which I'd organized by color, under the pretext of making the space feel more homelike, as if I'd invited her over to redecorate the whole house. One afternoon, I caught her using the professional blender I used to mix fabric-dyeing solutions to make a fruit smoothie. After she finished, she left the blender sticky and messy, not even bothering to rinse it out. When I asked her to clean it, she rolled her eyes and said, "It's just some old broken-down machine. Why are you being so picky about it?" Her dismissive attitude ignited my fury completely. In her eyes, my home had somehow become nothing more than a free lodging spot, where she felt perfectly entitled to use my belongings however she pleased. Gradually, I realized that their indifference wasn't mere carelessness. It was rooted in a deep-seated lack of respect for me. Kai's actions, in particular, had driven me to the brink. My workspace, a cozy corner by the bay window, cluttered with design sketches and fabric samples, was sacred and deeply meaningful to me. Yet he treated it like a junk pile. One morning, I found his photography bag tossed right onto my office chair, and the lenses inside had even crushed the soft furnishing sketch I'd prepared for a client. "Move your stuff out of here," I said, pointing at the bag. "What's the big deal?" he replied with a grin, his eyes brimming with contempt, as if to say my work wasn't worth a thing. Even worse, he'd often interrupt our video calls with clients, loudly answering phone calls and discussing so-called photography projects, forcing me to mute myself mid-conversation and awkwardly apologize to the client. I'm finding it increasingly difficult to concentrate on my work, and the resentment and anger in my heart keep building up. Suddenly, a terrifying thought struck me. Kai and Zoe never had any intention of leaving in the first place. When they first arrived, their luggage was piled up by the door, but now all the suitcases are empty. Zoe's clothes have been stuffed into the wardrobe in my guest room, and Kai's photography gear occupies half of my balcony. Zoe's skincare products line every shelf in my bathroom, while Kai's energy drinks and snacks have taken over an entire shelf in the fridge. My riverside apartment, the very place that used to be my sanctuary and source of inspiration, has now become alien and overcrowded. As I walk through my own home, I find myself carefully tiptoeing around their belongings, and the tension in the air is growing thicker and thicker. It's no longer just anger. I've made up my mind. I have to reclaim my home. One evening, Kai pulled me into the living room and confidently demanded that the master bedroom be turned into his photography studio, insisting that I could just stay in the guest room. The master bedroom is my carefully arranged workspace. Every single penny I've earned in this house was earned through late nights of hard work. His unreasonable demand has ignited a fire of anger inside me, but I'm forcing myself to keep calm, knowing full well that he's trying to completely take over my life. Zoe stepped out of the kitchen, carrying a cup of coffee brewed with my imported coffee beans, and chimed in, saying the master bedroom was perfect for Kai's creative work, implying that if I didn't let him have it, I'd be holding him back. Her attitude was utterly dismissive, as if it were somehow my fault for refusing. They're living here rent-free, yet still hogging the best room. It's simply beyond comprehension. I calmly shot back, pointing out that I'm the one footing the mortgage and all the household expenses, and that the master bedroom is my dedicated workspace. But Kai mocked me, calling me selfish and insisting that family members should always support each other. His words undermined everything I put into this home, and though I desperately tried to keep my temper in check, I refused to let him make a fool of me. He even belittled my interior design choices, claiming that anyone could do just fine anywhere else.
Just then, Mom Ella emerged from the guest room, urging me to give in. Kai's focused on his career, she said, so you might as well just give in to your little brother.
Seeing with my own eyes that she was actually helping Kai pressure me, it felt like a knife piercing my heart.
All I could see was her blatant favoritism toward Kai. I couldn't detect even a hint of guilt or remorse from her. As soon as Kai saw his mother backing him up, he became even more brazen, saying, since Mom's already said so, the master bedroom is perfectly suited for me to use as a studio. He belittled my career, and I clenched my fists, desperately holding back my anger. I stared firmly at him, letting him know that I'd never give in.
One afternoon, when I came home from work,
I froze the moment I pushed open the door. My laptop from the master bedroom was tossed carelessly in the living room, with design sketches and fabric samples scattered haphazardly all over the place. Bursting into the master bedroom, I was seething with rage. Kai's photography equipment had taken over my workspace. Zoe's makeup bag was dumped at the foot of the bed, and my own belongings were strewn about aimlessly. They'd just moved into the master bedroom without so much as a word of warning, completely trashing the healing sanctuary I'd painstakingly created. Their audacity had crossed every boundary.
I found Kai in the living room, scrolling on his phone, I said, my voice trembling with anger.
I demanded that they immediately move out of the master bedroom. Kai didn't even look up. He casually replied that he planned to stay here long-term and even told me to just make do in the guest room. Those words ignited my fury completely. This home, this place I'd fought so hard to build, is mine, and why should I be the one to give in?
Standing above them, I once again firmly insisted they leave. But Kai just sneered and mocked me, using the word family as a shield and threatening that if I kicked them out, I'd be acting unfilial. Zoe chimed in at that moment, siding with them and accusing me of making a big deal out of nothing, urging me to understand Kai's career ambitions. They're living here rent-free, yet somehow managed to turn the tables on me. I knew arguing with them was pointless. I could feel only one unshakable thought taking root deep inside. I had to get them out of my house and reclaim both my home and my dignity. I couldn't hold back any longer, so I immediately called my friend Luna Wright, a legal assistant. They're living in my home for free, spending my money, and now they're even trying to take over my room. Kai and Zoe have moved all my stuff out of the master bedroom, and now they're calling me selfish. I sobbed into the phone, the pent-up frustration and anger finally bursting forth. I just can't take it anymore. Luna listened quietly and then said firmly, Layla, don't panic. The house is yours. They have no right to occupy it. You need to find a lawyer to clarify your rights, and I'll help you organize the documents. Her words were like a soothing balm, calming my frantic heart. With her support, I no longer felt alone. After hanging up the phone, I turned on my computer and checked the legal clauses about property in Ningbo that Luna had sent me. The house is registered under my name, and I'm the sole legal owner. No one else has the right to live there against my will. My mortgage and utility payment records are all saved on my phone, and these serve as powerful evidence. The more I read, the more determined I became. I couldn't afford to be weak anymore. I contacted a law firm specializing in property disputes, sent them an email explaining the situation, and attached my payment records. Once I'd organized everything, I regained control of the situation. I resolved to take proactive steps, fight back, and reclaim my home, while also seeking redress for all the trouble they've caused me. Luna's words kept echoing in my ears. I saved the legal documents and made a note of the questions I wanted to ask the lawyer. The next morning, I received a text message from my father, Marcus. Dad knows you're feeling hurt, but Kai really wants to make things work. Just give him the master bedroom. Let's not let the whole family fall apart. My father, who'd always taught me to be independent, was now actually urging me to give up the house I'd worked so hard to build, all for Kai's sake. He completely ignored how I felt and all the years of effort I'd put into this place. His words pierced me like a thorn, causing an excruciating pain. In his eyes, Kai's career seemed far more important than my blood, sweat, and dignity, and I simply couldn't accept that. Later, while cooking at noon, I overheard my mother, Ella, talking to Kai in the guest room. She said she tried to persuade me to give up the master bedroom, adding that as a girl, I didn't need such a big room, and that I was just being stubborn. Her words felt like a bucket of cold water dousing the last flicker of hope I'd held onto.
My own mother, who'd once been my biggest supporter, was now completely siding with Kai and blaming me. This betrayal hurt even more than Kai and Zoe's unreasonable tantrums, but I knew full well they wouldn't listen to reason, so I forced myself to swallow my anger and stay calm.
During my afternoon break, I saw Kai post something on a social media platform, accompanied by a photo of my living room, implying that I'm selfish and unwilling to help my own family. The comment section was filled with accusations from his friends, berating me as ungrateful and cold-hearted. I was so furious that my hands were shaking. Not only has he been occupying my home, but now he's trying to twist the truth and ruin my reputation. After all, I'm an interior stylist whose reputation directly affects my career. My clients closely follow my social media accounts, and what he's doing is meant to completely destroy my livelihood. Fueled by rage, I made up my mind. This time, I'm not backing down. I'll make him pay for what he's done. Kai's slander has crossed the line, so I immediately called Luna for help, explaining how he's been slandering me on social media and making it crystal clear that I intend to fight back. Without hesitation, Luna agreed to assist me. She not only helped me gather evidence and connected me with a lawyer specializing in defamation cases, but she also promptly sent over information about several reputable law firms, along with strategies for countering malicious comments. Her support gave me tremendous strength and made my determination to fight back even firmer. That afternoon, I spent the entire time gathering evidence. I took photos of Kai and Zoe occupying my room, saved videos of them carelessly destroying my design sketches, and organized all my mortgage payment records, utility bills, even receipts for the things I bought for them. All these documents serve as proof that they've been occupying my home and draining my money. Following Luna's advice, I sent a detailed email to my lawyer, clearly outlining the whole story and attaching every piece of evidence. As I watched the confirmation message indicating that the email had been successfully sent, I felt as if half the weight on my chest had been lifted. I'm no longer the easy target that others can take advantage of. I'm ready to wield the weapon of the law and protect my legitimate rights and interests. I've had enough of being their punching bag, enough of having my dignity trampled upon at will. My phone kept vibrating. Each time, it was my mother, Ella, calling. I knew full well she'd come to plead for Kai, that she'd inevitably resort to emotional manipulation, trying to guilt me into forgiving Kai and giving up the master bedroom. I didn't answer her calls. Instead, I simply silenced my phone. I'd had enough of her favoritism, enough of her moral blackmail. Right now, all I want is to focus on striking back, on kicking Kai and Zoe out of my home. The atmosphere at home has become increasingly oppressive. Kai and Zoe deliberately laugh loudly in front of me, even going so far as to use my things as if they were taunting me. But I'm no longer as angry as I used to be. I know victory will ultimately be mine. Kai's public slander and my parents' betrayal have made me see through their true colors once and for all, and they've only strengthened my resolve to reclaim everything that rightfully belongs to me. That evening, I gathered everyone in the living room and announced in a firm tone, I'll cover all the expenses for this house. Kai and Zoe must move out within 3 days. Saying those words, I felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. This house is the price I paid with my youth, and I have every right to kick out anyone who disrespects me. Kay and Zoe stared at me in utter shock, while my parents wore solemn expressions. The air seemed to freeze in an instant, but I'd already prepared myself for their refusal to budge. When Kay finally snapped out of her daze, she erupted in fury, shouting, "Are you crazy? We're family!" I shot back with a cold smirk. Family members would secretly occupy my room, spend my money, and then slander me? Kay was left speechless, utterly taken aback. Then, with brazen arrogance, she challenged me. "I'm not moving out. What are you going to do about it?" Even Zoe chimed in, accusing me of being heartless. I clenched my fists, desperately trying to keep my temper in check. I knew arguing wouldn't get me anywhere. Only concrete actions could prove my resolve. My mother, Ella, grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her face, begging me to forgive Kay and insisting that families should always get along harmoniously. I pulled my hand away and firmly refused. This isn't a matter of harmony. It's about their blatant disrespect and their constant pushing boundaries. I'm never going to compromise or let myself be bullied anymore. As I watched her disappointed figure walk away, though I felt deeply hurt, my resolve to hold firm to my underscore never wavered. Not a single bit.
My home could no longer be trampled upon so recklessly. Just then, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and there stood Luna. She was holding a stack of documents, walked straight to the center of the living room, and handed them to me, saying, "Layla, these are the documents the lawyer has prepared for you. They clearly state that you're the sole legal owner of this apartment and have the right to ask anyone who hasn't obtained your consent to leave. If they refuse to leave, you can file a petition with the court to enforce their eviction." At Luna's appearance, Kai and Zoe's expressions instantly changed. They hadn't expected me to actually hire a lawyer. Looking directly at Kai and Zoe, Luna said in a serious tone, "I hope you'll face the reality of the situation and leave voluntarily. Don't force Layla to resort to legal action. By then, not only will you be forcibly evicted, but you'll also have to bear the corresponding legal responsibilities," Luna said, her words hitting like a bombshell and jolting Kai and Zoe, who'd been clinging to a false sense of hope, awake. I took the documents in my hands, feeling deeply grateful. With Luna by my side, I felt brimming with strength. Placing the papers on the table, I looked directly at Kai and Zoe and said, "This is the lawyer's opinion. If you don't leave within 3 days, I'll file a lawsuit with the court. This isn't a threat, it's a promise." My voice was firm and powerful, leaving no room for negotiation whatsoever. Kai glanced at the documents on the table, then met my unwavering gaze. The arrogance on his face gradually faded away, replaced by growing panic. Zoe, too, nervously tugged at Kai's sleeve, her eyes filled with fear. Their mother, Ella, and father, Marcus, kept their heads bowed, saying nothing at all. The room was utterly silent, and I could clearly hear their rapid breathing. They knew. I was serious this time. I wasn't going to compromise anymore the way I used to. I looked at them, feeling not a shred of pity in my heart. After all, they'd brought this on themselves. That evening, Kai posted another update on social media, slandering me by claiming that I'd hired a lawyer to threaten his family, accompanied by photos that portrayed me as aggrieved and prompting friends to call me cold-blooded and heartless. I was no longer angry. Following Luna's advice, I drafted a response, laying out the truth clearly and attaching evidence. Photos showing them occupying the room, destroying my sketches, and records of payments made. I vowed to protect my reputation and career, making sure Kai paid the price for his lies. When the 3-day deadline expired, Kai and Zoe showed no sign of moving out. I stopped wasting any more words and directly contacted a moving company, arranging for a legal assistant to be present as well. Together, we packed up all 4 of their belongings and moved them right to the entrance of the residential complex. As I watched their luggage being hauled away, all the pent-up tension inside me finally melted away. Sunlight streamed into the living room, and for the first time in ages, I could breathe freely. After signing the moving out receipt, I let out a deep sigh. This crucial step in my counterattack has brought me one step closer to regaining my house. Just then, Kai came back from shopping and, seeing his belongings piled up at the door, immediately flew into a rage, charging toward me and shouting, "You actually moved my stuff? That's just too much. I'm going to sue you." His outburst drew a crowd of curious neighbors. Calmly, I pulled out my lawyer's credentials. "The property title and payment records are right here. You've been illegally occupying my home, and I have every right to remove your belongings. If you want to sue me, I'll fight it all the way to the end." After taking a close look at the documents, Kai's face turned deathly pale, and all his arrogance vanished. Left speechless amid the neighbors' murmurs and scornful stares, he didn't know what to do. Soon after, my parents arrived. My mom, Ella, burst into tears on the spot, sobbing, "How could you treat us like this? We're your parents. You're so unfilial." She tried to manipulate me with tears and emotional appeals, hoping to force me into submission. But I'd already seen through her game. I replied calmly, "I've done everything I could these past few weeks to take care of you, but it was you who showed no respect for me or my home. You had your chance, but you didn't cherish it." Seeing that I remained unmoved, my mother burst into even louder tears, while my father wore a grim expression but said nothing at all. I felt absolutely no guilt. I was simply standing up for my own legal rights. Just then, Luna sent me a message saying she'd already posted the truth and the evidence I'd provided on social media. I opened the app and saw that her post had already garnered countless likes and comments. People were fiercely criticizing Kai and Zoe, accusing them of grabbing someone else's house and then turning around to blame the victim. Even my client stepped forward to testify on my behalf. Public opinion completely swung in my favor. Kai's lies had been exposed. I felt deeply grateful for Luna's unwavering support. Having a friend like her is truly my good fortune. I clicked on Kai's social media account and noticed that under his latest post, there were no longer any accusations, only questions and criticisms. Someone even challenged him. You're living in someone else's home and spending their money, yet you still have the nerve to call others selfish? His friends quickly began deleting their comments and even unfollowing him. Kai's scheme had utterly failed, and my reputation was finally safe. I sent Luna a message to express my gratitude, and she quickly replied, "Friends are supposed to help each other." That warm response brought me immense peace of mind. That evening, I messaged my parents, Kai and Zoe, asking them to be sure to pick up the luggage from the entrance of our residential complex the next day. Otherwise, I'd contact the property management to handle it, and they'd never be allowed to set foot in my home again. After sending those messages, I blocked all their contact numbers, completely cutting off any further ties. Kai and Zoe didn't reply, and I knew they were left with no options. At last, I'd shaken off their persistent harassment and could finally live and work in my own home without any more interference. Kai, unwilling to accept defeat, filed a lawsuit in court to fight for the right to live in the house, but the outcome took both him and my parents by surprise. After reviewing the case, the court found that my evidence was conclusive, ruled that the property belonged to me, and declared Kai and Zoe's occupation unlawful, dismissing their entire claim. The moment I received the court's verdict, I finally felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Not only had I won back my home, but I'd also regained my dignity. The sunlight warmed my skin, and for the first time ever, I finally broke free from them and regained a home that truly belonged to me alone. This victory was born of my courage and perseverance, and it also made me realize that from now on, I'd never again let anyone bully me. Unable to do anything else, Kai and Zoe had no choice but to rent a tiny apartment in the suburbs. They'd always been extravagant spenders, and Kai's photography career hadn't shown any signs of improvement. He simply couldn't make any money at all. Without my financial support, their life quickly spiraled into hardship. They couldn't afford the rent, kept putting off utility bills for months on end, and eventually their landlord kicked them out. I heard from a distant relative that Kai had been borrowing money from everyone he could find, but because of his past actions, no one was willing to help him anymore. Zoe spent her days arguing with him constantly, and their life together had become nothing but chaos and turmoil. In the end, they'd brought their own fate upon themselves. If only they had respected me and respected my family back then, none of this would have happened. I feel absolutely no sympathy for them. This is exactly what they deserve. My parents, Ella and Marcus, have been forced to move in temporarily with a distant relative. Yet, every time they're around that relative, they can't help but speak ill of me, complaining that I'm unfilial and even accusing me of kicking them out. At first, the relatives tried to comfort them, but over time, they finally saw through their true nature and realized it was they themselves who had shown me disrespect in the first place. Later on, the relatives started distancing themselves from them too, no longer willing to offer them shelter. My mother, Ella, has sent me countless text messages, apologizing and begging me to forgive them and let them move back home. But I haven't replied to any of them. Their betrayal has deeply wounded me. I need time to heal, and right now, I simply can't bring myself to forgive them.
His isolation and helplessness were entirely of his own making.
There's no one else to blame but himself. Kai's reputation was completely ruined.
On his social media accounts, every comment was filled with accusations against him.
Even his closest friends had turned their backs on him, and no one was willing to collaborate with him on any photography projects anymore.
He'd become the laughingstock of the entire circle. Wherever he went, people couldn't help but gossip
About him behind his back.
Meanwhile, my career was thriving more and more. After the truth was clarified, my clients began to trust me even more, and they started referring many new clients my way. I know all of this wouldn't have been possible without Luna's help. My soft furnishing display studio was also gaining increasing fame. If it hadn't been for her, I probably would have already been destroyed by Kai's lies. I'm so grateful to have a friend who truly cares for me like she does. I'll cherish this friendship forever. After reclaiming my home, I rearranged the master bedroom, neatly displaying my design sketches and fabric samples on the desk, and made the bay window even cozier and more inviting. Every evening, I can lean against the bay window and gaze at the river view, savoring some peaceful moments all to myself. I've thrown myself wholeheartedly into my work, and new orders keep pouring in. My career is thriving more than ever. This experience has taught me a profound lesson. No matter who it is, you must set your boundaries. Even with family members, you can't let them cross your underscore. Setting boundaries isn't an act of selfishness. It's a way to protect yourself. Only when you establish clear boundaries will others learn to respect you. Now, I'm more mature and stronger than ever. I know that in this world, only by becoming strong yourself can you truly safeguard your own well-being. Your family isn't a reason for you to compromise, nor is it an excuse for you to be taken advantage of. My home, my life, I'm in charge. This truth is one I've earned through courage and perseverance. I'll never again sacrifice myself for the sake of family ties, and I'll never allow anyone to infringe upon my rights. This experience, though painful, has helped me grow a lot. It made me realize what true family love really means and what true friendship is all about. I hope my story can give some courage to those who are currently having their rights violated by their families. Don't be afraid. Don't give in. Stand up bravely and protect your own boundaries and rights. If you've had a similar experience, if you've ever compromised yourself for the sake of family, feel free to share your story in the comments. Let's encourage and support each other, and together we'll become stronger. Thank you for listening to my story. Your support is my greatest motivation to keep moving forward.